Hi everyone, I'm Shaylin here with Reedsy. So today we're going to be running through some tips for a successful Preptober. If you're gearing up to do NaNoWriMo this year, which is National Novel Writing Month, a yearly writing challenge where writers challenge themselves to write 50,000 words in the month of November, you may be doing what a lot of writers call Preptober, which is using October as the time to prepare for NaNoWriMo. Since NaNoWriMo can be a bit of a high-intensity challenge, there are a ton of steps that you can take throughout October to set yourself up for success throughout NaNoWriMo. So today we're going to run through some essential Preptober tips, talking about the elements of your story that you can focus on, which is really important in NaNoWriMo when you don't have much time to pause and think. And we'll also cover some process-related tips to help you organize and get yourself set up for the month. The first step is to define your pitch. Before jumping in to write an entire book, you want to be able to start with a pitch. Try distilling your novel's concept into just a couple sentences. This is often really difficult, but that's why it's such a valuable exercise. If you can solidify your concept into a really short but concise pitch, that means you really know the story you want to tell. Yes, pitches are really hard to write, but if you can't write a logline, which is a one-sentence pitch of your story, it may mean that the idea isn't focused enough yet, or it's missing some core element of the concept that makes it possible to express in a short format. And if you can't really express it in a short format, it's going to be really hard to express that maybe not fully developed idea as an entire story. In order to write a strong pitch, you need to hone in on a few key but really effective details in order to express your story's concept in just one or two sentences. If you're not sure how to write a pitch, we have videos on how to write a pitch for your novel, as well as how to write a logline that you can check out. But even if you're not writing an official pitch yet at this stage, it's a really helpful exercise to do before you start writing your story. The second tip is to know your protagonist. I know that in my personal writing practice, I often find that if I know my protagonist well enough, then the story is ready to write. That's the most important thing for me, and I think for a lot of writers. I know that if I understand the protagonist on a deep enough level, then writing them feels intuitive and obvious. I don't have to stop to think about what their thoughts or emotional reactions would be, because you just kind of know it. So the more you get to know your protagonist before you start writing, the smoother your writing journey will be, because writing the character will just feel instinctual. One of the most important things to understand when trying to develop your protagonist is understanding their goals and motivations, understanding what they want, but more importantly, what drives them. Understanding what your character wants, what they think they want, what they actually need deep down, why they want these things, and how all of these things may actually not be the same and might even be contradictory is key, because these are questions that fuel your character's actions, desires, and choices. If you don't understand these things, then it's really hard to know how your character is going to move throughout the story. You may have a great sense for your character's personality and backstory, which is great. Those things are also important aspects of character development. But if you're unclear what's making them tick and really driving them to act, you may find the actual writing process hard. So try to nail down those aspects of your protagonist before you start writing. The next thing to identify are the key plot points. The question of how much plotting you should do before you start writing a novel is a common one, and the truth is that there is no real answer. It depends on the author, and more so on the specific book. You'll find authors who don't really do any planning for one book and outline in great detail for another. Every writer kind of just needs to find that balance for themselves, and that can range from pretty much no planning to something incredibly detailed. However, in the context of NaNoWriMo, it may help to lean a little more into plotting than you normally would, just because it's such a condensed time frame. It's not to say that you can't discovery write a NaNoWriMo novel, but if meeting the 50,000 word goal is important to you, it may be beneficial, because typically writing from an outline enables you to write faster than if you're discovery writing. I'm typically a discovery writer, but I don't think it would be possible for me to pants a NaNoWriMo novel if I was actually trying to meet the deadline in word count. So here you can see me using the Reedsy book editor to do a bit of planning before NaNoWriMo. You may start Preptober by making a full outline of your story, if that's what feels natural and beneficial for you. Or if you're not so inclined towards plotting, you might just identify a few key plot points, giving you some cornerstone events to write towards and bridge together. Personally, I think this is a really great middle ground if you normally prefer to pants your work. Instead of making a full outline where you lay out every chapter or every scene, you just identify the main plot beats and then you can bridge them together. It gives you a level of guidance, but also maintains a lot of freedom and flexibility. And depending on how loose or detailed you want that outline to be, you can identify more or fewer key plot points. At this stage, it also really helps to be aware of your protagonist's journey of change. How are they going to change over the course of the story? This way you can kind of frame your story's development over your character's journey of transformation, which is especially important if you're writing a more character-driven novel. It's not just about identifying the plot beats, but also how these plot beats are an expression of your character's transformation. We have a whole video on different methods of outlining that you can check out for different types of books or different types of authors. So it goes through a ton of different ways that you can outline a book, ranging from really, really simple and really, really flexible to really, really detailed. So there's something in there for everyone. The next tip is to choose your point of view. Point of view may seem like a small choice, but brushing it off as something that doesn't really matter may end up being your downfall. It may seem like a really simple decision, but it's a really, really important one. And that's because changing the point of view later is really difficult and pretty much impossible to do without a full rewrite. So it's something you want to think carefully about and identify the point of view and tense that's going to best express your story. Most modern novels are written in either first or third person, usually third person limited, but you still see omniscient third person crop up here or there. But along with that, you also have to determine if you want to write in past or present tense, single or multi-POV, how close your POV will be, if there's any kind of framing device or frame narrative, or if you have a more experimental point of view in mind, you'll have to figure out the parameters and logistics of how that will work. We have an entire video on how to choose your story's point of view, as well as one on how to choose your story's tense, so I'll leave links to those videos in the description so you can check them out for more guidance. Ultimately, if you're unsure, I think it really helps to write a couple test scenes in the different point of view or tense combinations that you're considering, see what flows the best, and just what ends up being the best expression of your character. Sometimes it's actually hard to know which point of view is going to best click with your narrative until you actually try writing it on the page and you can see what it actually looks like in action. The next tip is to really nail the place of your story. Where and when is the story set? Setting may seem like a backdrop, but it's actually really important and can have a huge impact on your story and characters. If you're writing a book with more detailed setting work, like a historical, fantasy, or sci-fi novel, you may have a lot of world development or research that goes into this aspect of the story, and it's really not something that can be overlooked. But no matter what the setting of your story is, make sure you're prepared with a good arsenal of detail that you can reference while writing. Understanding your setting on a detailed level doesn't just mean that you can write beautiful, immersive descriptions, but rather also understanding how the setting may have shaped your character's worldview and experiences, and how it may logistically impact the story. Tip number 6 is to customize your goals and schedule. NaNoWriMo isn't one size fits all because every writer is different. Before going into NaNoWriMo, know what you want to get out of it. It's easy to get stuck on the idea of just writing 50,000 words, but why is that important for you? Is it about showing yourself that you can complete a book? Is it about meeting a deadline? Is it about writing a story that you've been too scared to embark on? Is it about building a writing routine, or is it merely about making progress on your project? Even the 50,000 word mark is pretty arbitrary. Most novels are longer than 50,000 words anyways. So you can participate in any way you like, and that's going to work for you. You can lower or raise that word count goal. You can adjust it to page or chapter goals if you're in the editing stage. Your goal might just be to write every single day. Maybe you're a slower writer, or you're super busy, but you still want to participate. That's okay. I didn't participate in NaNoWriMo for many years because I didn't have the time to write 50,000 words in a month, and I didn't really want to because I'm a slower writer anyways, and I like to take my time. That put me off from participating for many, many years, even though I really enjoy the community aspect of NaNoWriMo. So once I realized that I could just create my own goals and participate the way I wanted to, it really brought back the fun of NaNoWriMo, and I got so much out of the experience. So don't be afraid to adjust your goals based on your own goals and writing process. The whole point of NaNoWriMo is about challenging yourself to write more, and that can take whatever form works best for you. The next tip is to set yourself up for success. Before you actually start, think about how you can set yourself up for success throughout the month. You might try to create a reward system to motivate yourself, maybe something that you plan to treat yourself to if you win, or having a daily reward if you reach your word count goal for the day. I think a good one is not letting yourself, watch TV or go on social media or play video games or whatever your screen time normally goes into until you reach your word goal for the day. This cuts distractions and it builds in a daily reward. I also think it helps to organize your workspace in advance. Clutter can be really, really distracting, and since you're trying to really focus throughout the month, I think it helps to just do a deep clean of your workspace, get everything super organized so you can focus as easily as possible. This also includes organizing your story notes so everything is as easy to find as possible. I used to print these before the start of the month, so I'd have a folder with all my notes on my desk. But now there are so many great tools to organize your work digitally, like the Reedsy book editor, which I've shown a few times throughout this video, where you can organize your character story and world notes all in the same place where you draft, so it's super easy to keep everything organized and easy to locate throughout your writing process. And finally, connect with the community. The community is probably the best aspect of NaNoWriMo. Anyone can challenge themselves to write 50,000 words any other month of the year, but the whole fun of NaNoWriMo is that so many other people are joining you in this challenge, and that's what's so motivational. You can connect with other writers via social media, via the NaNoWriMo forums, or via live writing events. NaNoWriMo hosts weekly virtual writings you can join, and we'll be hosting one on Wednesday, November 15th. But no matter what, connecting with other writers, finding other people who are joining you in this challenge is what makes NaNoWriMo so fun and such a special experience for so many writers. So that's all. Those are some key NaNoWriMo prep tips that you can do to set yourself up for success. If you are going to be participating in NaNoWriMo this year, leave a comment saying what you're planning to work on, and you can connect with other writers who are looking for NaNoWriMo friends as well. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from us. We've got new writing, editing, and publishing tips every Friday on this channel. Until next time, bye!